wonderful day. Today I got a really good video, I think y'all's gonna like it. Okay, I've been wanting to do this video for a long time, for probably since I come back, a month? Probably a month I wanted to do this video for y'all. Now, not everybody will take a like in this video, but I think a good bit of you will, because I've been wanting to share this with everybody, because I get guys get a hold of me saying, hey, how do I get started? What do I do? They ask questions and stuff to me, and a lot of them I don't think I'm actually qualified to answer. But I do have this part of the equation figured out on, the sort of how to do things yourself, or how to do this, or how to do that. And it's very important, crucial information, and I wanted to share that. I wanted to make a video to share this with people, because I know it'll help y'all. I know there's people out there that this will help. I wished 20 years ago I could have found this video. I'll tell you that much. Now, I didn't want to just sit here and talk to y'all and yak and all that stuff, so I wanted to shoot some B-roll and share something new with y'all that I hadn't shared, the new Din Din. So I've not got any footage of the new Din Din running. There's a few things that I want to make better on it, but it's coming along quite well. It's a work in process, but it's coming along quite well. And the footage is going to be on Christmas Eve. I ran out to the mill and done a bunch of work, and when I shot the last video, I actually done some other work there that day and got a bunch of things buttoned up and put to bed and got them ready for a vacation. So I'm going to show you some B-roll of getting some hard maple pulled out of the rigs, set up a hard maple sail, of cleaning up and doing things, getting things ready on the tie blocks and stuff like that. I think I did. I can't remember what all I did, but I'll get into it with the B-roll, and then I'll get explain to you all this tip, good, important tip I've been wanting to share with everybody for a month now. Let's dive on in and see what y'all think. Well, I only have one SD card, so here we go. We are stacking up stuff today. We're going through a maple stack. I'll see you all in the man cave. I'll tell y'all what's up. Those of you that's been up on the logger weight video since I come back, we've not had the best year in the world. We think we're going to finish flat. We're working our butts off to finish flat. At least we can finish the year flat instead of down. It's going to be close. It's going to be about that close. Towards the end of the year, clock's ticking down, running out. We're trying to fight to, we got a big inventory. The inventory's big and it's expensive and we can't afford it. Okay, I know you're not supposed to say stuff like that on video, but yeah, it's a fact. I mean, it is a very expensive inventory between what we got in the yard, what we got standing on a stump, what we got at Bear Hollow. It's just, it's a lot. And the way this year's been, there's not been the extra cash to hold on to it. We get to the end of the year, talk to a veneer guy, a good veneer guy we do business with. I don't know if he wants me to mention his name or not, so I'll just leave it at that. Said, hey, I'm sure you've got some money to give up towards the end of this year to make it look better on your side. And we need some cash to get us through the end of the year, through vacation week and bonuses and all that stuff. So how about we scratch each other's back here? So he said, yeah, heck yeah, I'm all for it. So what I'm doing is I'm pulling out maple logs, the maple butts. We had some good wood this year, towards the end of the year especially, that we got into some hard maple, some real white hard maple. And in hard maple, the white hard maple is what everybody's after. So got into that, and I'm pulling it out. It's kind of a last-ditch effort to take some stuff and bypass the sawmill. Your sawmill is kind of your cash register. So if you get in a cash crunch, if you can look for ways to shortcut and get around the mill, or get through the mill and keep your piece size up, or what have you, throw more grade, throw more length, there's all kinds of options you can look into to getting more wood, getting more cash pushed through the cash register there to bypass a few steps there. So this is one of them. Pulling out veneer butts that you sell to a veneer company, they turn into slicers or rotary logs or whatever, what have you. You can pull some out and bypass the mill. Another one's staves, but we don't fool with staves a lot at this point in time. Few of the loggers, one of the loggers that helps us and stuff like that, one of the real close loggers, I don't know if they want me to mention their name or not either, but they're starting to get us into staves and stuff like that. So we're going to be a few avenues that we'll get into maybe to help us out. And right now, when you're scrapping, when the market's the way it is in this cyclical business, if you can get down and really, being a small business has a lot of disadvantages. But being a small business also can have advantages as long as you utilize them. And one of them is being quick-witted, quick on your feet, and quick to react to situations. That's what keeps a small business alive. That, you know, and the keeping your finger on the pulse all the time, you know, because you're in the trenches with everybody. Everybody's in the trenches together. We're all in this together, and that helps. So, but that's what's going on here. Now, what I wanted to share in this video is I wanted to share with you all, we went to a file meeting this spring, this past spring. Really good file meeting. I'm getting myself in enough trouble. I was getting myself in enough trouble in the file room at the time. Oscar was off, and I was having to help Rickenball a bit at the time, which I'll be helping him again in the future. But I was getting myself in trouble. When you're working in a file room on bandsaws, the bandsaw blades are real thin blade. It's not a very big piece of metal. And you're shoving wood linearly through this sucker, hard wood, at 200 feet a minute, plus or minus. You know, that's really shoving the wood through this thing. And I'm not sure the surface speed on our band unit. It's spinning 6-foot wheels at 458 RPMs. I'll do the quick math, throw it up there, Tater. But that's how everything has to be right. And by looking at the band, you're like, well, what's not right? How can it not be right? Well, you got the tire lines, you got tension, tire lines back, tension, tire lines back. You got to level it. You got to flatten it out. You got to make it to where it's not too loaded up in tension. You make cracks. You got, you don't want to tension up your teeth. You make cracks. You get bent teeth. You get, there's all kinds of things you can get when you don't, your swedge, how you swedge and shape, the clearance between the tip of your tooth and the body of your saw, alignment in the wheels, alignment in the fence. All kinds of multiple things has to be right to do this job right. And I kept trying to operate at a level that was surpassed by my education. You know, they say fake it till you make it. Well, I was faking it like a son of a buck, trying to make it like crazy. And what I was doing was I was having file room mistakes based off of assumptions. Didn't really realize it yet at the time. We're sitting in that meeting, and a guy was holding a talk from Simons. And he gets to talking to us, and he said these words that's rang in my head ever since this wonderful man said it. I forget your name, I'm sorry, from Simons. But he said, when it comes to filing saws, inspect, don't expect. It floored me. I was so overwhelmed. I was like, inspect, don't expect, dummy. And from that day forth, I started getting a lot better. Now, Rickenball, you can ask Rickenball, and he's probably got a lot of things to say about it. I can still go a long ways yet as far as getting better, but I'm getting better. That's all that matters. But once I got that mentality down, I started using that mentality in other places in business here. You know, I've been reading books and everything else, and one of the books I read was Creativity Inc. by Ed Catmull. Was a real good one pertaining to Pixar animation and the way they run their business and all that stuff. It was a very good book. One of the things they had talked about, but if you think about it, Tater, put it in a thing. But when you're doing something new, There's multiple ways of looking into it. Or when you're just doing, well, yeah, anything that's new, any novelty, anything that's new in the way you're doing things. When you're doing something and you got to believe, I think when I do X, Y will happen as a it'll create Y to happen on anything. I don't know. Just add stuff into the equation. But you go to do it and it don't turn out to be Y. It turns out to be something else. You know, and you're like, daggone. Well, if you're like the rest of us out here, especially hardworking people, you're going to just hit X again. And you're going to hit X harder. And you're going to force and throw. You know, Nikola Tesla always made the statement about Thomas Edison. He goes, if he lost a needle in a haystack, he said Thomas Edison would be in there frantically throwing hay everywhere trying to find that needle. And he said instead of just sitting back and thinking, what part of the haystack could that needle possibly be in? You know, you need to learn to think like a scientist. That was one thing that one of these books had covered that I forget now the source. But thinking like a scientist, what that revolves around is holding on to a belief loosely and reevaluating the situation as new information unfolds. So if you're into something, just think about it, guys. Just think about something you're struggling on. Any of you out there, something you're struggling on, something you ain't got figured out. Stand back. You know, they say the war, I don't want to put too many of these in here and just clog up the video with them. But, you know, they say if you back away 200 foot from the trench, from the front line, if you back off the 200 foot from the front line, it's a whole different war than the guy in the trenches trying to fight that son of a buck. If you back up 200 feet to where you can see around your perimeter and not get shot at the whole time, it's a whole different war. And it's the same way when you're doing anything in business or anything like that, or struggling to learn something new. If you can back up and think with a set of new eyes, that things just kind of tend to come together. And when you look at something and actually stop yourself, you got to think in your brain. You know, the front part of your brain's your cortex, the back part of your brain's your limbic system. And the way humans evolve and stuff, your limbic system tends to try to secrete the right chemicals to get your body and brain to submit to what it wants it to be. You know, but that has nothing to do with new information. That's old, burnt information. And you got to be able to separate when you're working with things, when you're thinking cognitively, you got to be able to stop and think, all right, is this my old brain taking over? Or am I taking in new information and letting it manipulate the way I'm thinking? Or am I just head over heels down a rabbit hole just going at her like crazy, shoveling straw like crazy, looking for the daggone needle? You know? That bit of information has helped me tremendously. And it's helped our company this year tremendously. When things got hard, things started tightening up when these interest rates went up and all that mess. You know, high interest rates are great when you're holding the money. It's not so great when you borrow the money. So you add the interest rates and you take the economy and drop it down. You know, they say we're not in a recession, bull mess. I guarantee we're in a recession. It's just Lagerwaite's opinion. But you add all them factors together and you got to be able to pivot. You got to be able to not only pivot, you got to be able to spin around on that ankle like a daggone ballerina. You know what I mean? So, inspecting what you're doing as a business, as a mechanic, as a machinery operator, pretty much as anything. As a filer, a saw filer, that's crucial. That information as a saw filer was crucial because saw filing is so complex. Now, it's like anything. Once you get used to it, I'm sure it ain't that bad. Once you get to where you're seeing this in the saw body all the time, seeing this on the teeth, you got operators that don't cram on a daggone blade. That turned out to be a lot of what I was dealing with. But you get a good operator that you can trust, that's putting the wood through the blade with care, you know, and all that stuff. But you add all these things together, It really helps you loosely hold on to opinions, things that you previously considered as facts. That could be anything, but you loosely hold on to it, so you keep your mind, you keep this limbic system under control, and you keep your mind malleable. Okay? Everybody wants to follow a daggone, your limbic system always wants you to follow some kind of arbitrary path. It wants to pick out something, bam, that's the deal, we're going to go that way, and that's that, and it's going to be that. And if it don't work, shovel harder, throw more straw quicker to find that daggone needle, you know. Harder and faster, a lot of times ain't the answer. Backing up and taking the right direction, and the farther you back up and you change your trajectory a little bit, look on a map. If you backed up a little farther from where you're going, you can change your trajectory just a little bit and get there at the right spot. You know, or if you wait too long, you're going to have to turn a 90 degree and head up, or even turn around backwards and head up. You know, but just thinking like that, I'm telling you, it's made a world of difference for us as a company, really. And when you're working with other people, man, you're going to have to try to set up. A lot of people lives off their limbic system. That's all there is to it. They do the same thing every day, and they want it to be the same every day, and they don't want to change, and they want this to be the same every day. And a lot of the stuff that's been browbeat into them as a young person, as they was being raised, or anything of the sort, you know, it's been beat into them that you can't be wrong. And that's another flop. You got to learn to almost, pretty much, celebrate your failures. And that's hard for me to do. I'm telling you this. I'm pretty much telling myself this as I'm telling you guys this. But you got to create an environment with your coworkers that it's okay. Hey, I'm wrong. If you're wrong, it don't matter who's wrong. Who's wrong don't really matter. The fact that we figured out what was wrong. What, not who. Not who. What was wrong. We corrected that. We went a different direction. And thank goodness we went that direction first and figured out what was wrong so we could adjust and change earlier on with a smaller amount of casualty to head in the right direction, if you follow. So I want you all to take away from this video and add to it if you want to in the comments or anything else. I want anybody to add to it. I want this to be an intellectual video. I want this really to help people. I've had people get a hold of me and want some help with this. With not actually this actual subject, but a lot of the questions I get asked and have got asked in the past can be answered with this bit of information. It gives you the skills and gave me the skills to answer a lot of the questions I had with my own mentality, and or be able to work with my teammates and help them. You know, a lot of people's got to come out of their shell because they got to get rid of the fear of being wrong, of openly being wrong, to even get their daggone prefrontal cortex started and wound up and get that thing of thinking. Now, I will say this, when I got into the ties and stuff like that, we started out rough. You know, going into it, you know, I hate to keep doing this, everybody. I'm sorry if it's just too dull, but Elon Musk says when you do something new, you start with a tree. So you look at a new project as a tree. And let's take, for instance, these ties. You start into it, first you get the trunk right, then you get the roots right,
and then you start out on the branches. You see what I mean? You start on the main thing, the big part of the tree, and then you start working out towards the limbs. And that's what that's the way Elon Musk basically put together starting something new, you know, and this guy's known to start a few things new, you know. So what I did going into these ties is first I figured out how to stack them, get them to where you can stack them, then get them cut off, and then get them bundled, you know, and then figure out how to make the person that we're selling the tie to, Jimmy the money man. That's what I tell him. I tell him that all the time. I said, these ladies really love you around here because you cut checks, buddy. I'm going to start calling him the ladies man. But, you know, main thing I wanted to figure out is where to go with him. Mikey set me up on that. Thank you, Mikey. He said, go talk to Jimmy. So we went down there, we talked to Jimmy, figured out where to go. Then I wanted to figure out what does Jimmy want, and figured out what he wants. And then figured out, was there a way I can do it with equipment I got, so we're not spending money that we don't have to spend right now to get this up and going. So we got all that figured out. Have plenty of equipment. We don't have a problem with equipment. We have well-maintained equipment and good operators and good people around here. So we started taking what things can we utilize around here that we're already at to get this thing off the ground and started. Now, it's not pretty. We're started off rough, but we'll finally we got the main, but we are selling ties. We are hauling away ties. Instead of pushing this 2 and 3 common lumber, you know, and slowing the mill up, sawing all the way down, you know. There's a lot to this that I can't get into, that I won't get into. But, you know, and then we'll start working, you know, well, how do we saw them off better? How do we stack them better? How do we get rid of this trash instead of hauling it off and playing with firewood? That sort of thing, etc., etc. I got one last job to do. I got a special order for Jason Works Lot for the railroad. Oh, and I gotta get it done. I promised him I'd have it done by the end of the year. So let me run up there and pull out some white oak for Jason Works Lot for the railroad. First item of business, it's all the way in the back there. I'm gonna have to dig my way through these beach piles and get back there. Well, let me start digging. All right. He needs 48 3x3 by 8 foot. So let's see. We had a bunch of ties that was cut for tie logs that didn't make ties. And we're gonna go through these, see what we can come up with. Surely amongst all these we'll come up with what we need. Daggone beach logs come down and hit my side of my machine. Bent that up, couldn't get out my door a minute ago. Wet beach sucks. Slimy logs slide easy. I'm gonna set 13 of these out so I got some extra, maybe 14. All right, here we got it out. I got it laying there. I fixed the beach stack back there. It's been a long day, but I got plenty out because I figure if some of it don't cut out right, I can chuck it or cut it into pallet or something like that. There ain't really no pallet. Maybe it could be chipper food if I can't get 3 common out of it. But we'll see what happens. And some of it looks pretty rough, so we sawed him out some extra. But that's black locust. I mean, it is hard as hard gets. It don't get much harder than that. And then here's some 3-inch pieces for some of the rail service equipment. It's 3x3s, just little pieces of 3x3s. And then that's out of white oak. I told him I don't have enough of the black locust. You know, a lot of people's got to come out of their shell because they got to get rid of the fear of being wrong, of openly being wrong, to even get their daggone prefrontal cortex started and wound up and get that thing of thinking, you know. But you got to create the environment where they can. If you don't, You got your Thomas Edisons out there just hammering away trying to find that daggone needle in that haystack, just throwing hay everywhere. Shovel faster! You know, well, what if you're in the wrong hay bale? You know, but hope that helps. Let me know and leave some comments down below and add to this conversation, please. If you do, anybody out there that gets their gears a turning, add to the daggone conversation and let's help each other out. If we get somebody here that's needing a little advice or needing to really dig into this thing and start thinking about inspect, don't expect. Think like a scientist. Loosely hold on to your beliefs. Celebrate your failures. Think about that stuff, guys. Write it down. Write it down on something. Think about it. Carry it with you. By God, tell it. By God, tell the next person you're talking. Tell Logger Wade told you that. Tell them to go watch LoggerWade.com. All right, thank you guys. Later on.